Καλησπέρα σας και πάλι. Είμαι Μαρία Ακριβού, Senior Editor του Fortune Greece. Μαζί θα δούμε πώς αγκαλιάζουμε την αλλαγή και την καινοτομία σε ένα περιβάλλον που διαρκώς αλλάζει. Θα ακολουθήσει ένα Fire Chat με την κυρία Lili Zigoslu. She is the General Manager at JTI Hellas. Thank you for being here with us. So, a few days ago, you launched a new product and you announced a huge investment in the Greek market. What is JTI Greece's strategy for adapting to rapidly changing business environments and managing challenges effectively?
Thank you, Maria. So, in a challenging and changing environment, what really keeps us focused is actually where are the consumers. And if you know the tobacco industry, it's actually something that hasn't been very dynamic except for the last 5 or 6 years. Actually, technology and digital has come into the category that has been, for many decades, very, I guess, conservative without a lot of change. So for us, one of the things that we had to do is to recognize that it is important. But JTI, which is Japan Tobacco International, one of the things that is important for us is that our Japanese roots are very much, I guess, built for us to introduce technology and innovation. Because we are, and not only that, we launched actually our Plume heated tobacco product, as you mentioned, 2 weeks ago. And it's really about us bringing the technology and innovation of Japan, but in a beautiful way, because this is actually where the beauty of the Japanese touch comes in for us. And the way we do it is really, in the next 3 years, we're investing over 3 billion euros into this category because this is where the consumers are moving. It is the most dynamic and fast-growing category, and consumers are looking for different choices. Of course, we still have consumers that want to have our normal cigarettes or even our roll-your-own cigarettes, but we also recognize that consumers now need something different. And for us, we need to remain consumer-centric and follow and deliver products that give them the pleasure of tobacco.
And you will have to teach them as far as the new product is concerned. You already mentioned the vital role that technology plays in your company. So how do you leverage technology and innovation to maintain your competitive edge in a fast-changing industry? Because you're not a lone player.
Yes. No, actually, probably for us, we were behind. It was a category that was much more dynamic, and actually we are the last big international player to enter Greece. But actually, one of the ways for us to be able to deliver innovation and technology now as the last but hopefully not least player is to challenge the status quo. And this is the environment and the culture that we embraced in JTI, but specifically here in Greece, because we needed to compete in a space that has been dominated from other competitors before. And we've been able to do that by looking at things differently. Like when we launched the Plume heated tobacco 2 weeks ago, we purposely launched it at the Acropolis Museum because it was something different. It hadn't been done before with competition. And we've continued to bring a unique device that has a different shape. We continue to bring different consumer experiences that are different than what the consumers in Greece have actually experienced before. So we can cater to something different because the category is quite mature here in Greece. But for us to have consumers consider our product, we need to give them something different. And actually, I fully believe that even though it's a category that a lot of consumers are already vaping, they do want to, not everyone wants to be the same. I think people want to have some different, unique experiences, and I think what we bring with Plume is something very special that is very distinctive, and hopefully there will be consumers who would not want to be the mainstream.
Although you have a successful product, you mentioned Plume, success comes from teams. So my next question is, what strategies do you have in place for talent retention and the development of human capital within your company?
Personally, I'm not a big fan of the word human capital because it feels like, an asset on a P&L. I'm a big fan of people and talent, and I really believe that's the starting point for us to do anything, to unleash a lot of energy and power. And we do a few things, just like we follow the consumers, we follow what our talent needs. And it's very clear for all companies now that the companies need to represent the values of our consumers. So we do a few things, mainly first that is important for the consumers, or for our talent to be retained. One is we do things like a 20-week parental leave for all of our talents everywhere in the world, even besides Greece. even if you're getting natural birth, surrogacy, or from whatever gender you're going to. We believe both men and women, it's important for you to celebrate family, and I think this is very important in Greece, given how important family is. We also continue to do hybrid working, so we are 50-50. We have introduced a new office a year ago that actually promotes collaborative and open communication, because we recognize that our teams now, they only want you to come to the office to connect. If it's just to run meetings and have discussions that are very transactional, those things can happen virtually. But what is really important is that we want to build a culture that people feel connected. When we do these things, plus also do things like sustainability, which is also very important, we're committed in JTI in 2030 to be carbon neutral, and by 2050 to be zero net free in terms of emissions. These things are very important for the consumers, for our talent. I will say that there is one area that I'm a big passionate about is DEI, so diversity, equity, and inclusion. We are really trying to build a culture that is a lot more open, and I guess people can be themselves. And today what you see is when we are able to build that culture where gender equality is there, sexual orientation, all different types of environments, allow people to be themselves, we're able to get more from people. And I think this is the major accelerator for us, because when you can get more from people, especially as the world is changing, you're able to get more ideas faster. And this is the thing that we can't afford anymore.
And talking about DEI, since you're the head of a multinational in an admittedly male-dominated industry, how does this affect the way you manage?
I think one of the things that it's always difficult in a male-dominant industry is the fact that you're expected to kind of follow the flow of a lot of men. But what I found is successful for me is actually that I embrace who I am. Recently I heard a saying that says, "I'm never going to outdo a man," right? I'm never going to man someone more, right? So the only thing I can do is be myself, and with my qualities, even as a female. And actually, I think if I link it back to Maria, to what you said about innovation, I think diversity is super important, because with diversity, you naturally get innovation, because you have different experiences and different thoughts. When you have too much of the same, sometimes too much of a tunnel
the result will
vision.
be the same.
Yes. So,
because I see some of your colleagues sitting here in the front desk, what is your experience of working with women, and how effective are they in making decisions and implementing actions?
Well, I've worked with, I had 2 female bosses in the early part of my career, but if I'm very honest, in the last 15 years, I haven't had a female boss, which is, I think, unfortunately, the problem, because at a senior level, you don't get enough representation of women. And that's why in JTI, we made a commitment to get to 30% leadership of women from director and above. And the reason why there's 30% is because studies show that when you have, at least in a room of, in a table of 10, if 3 are women, there's at least the chance that they feel that they can be themselves. And I'm really happy to announce that this August, my company achieved that 30%, and I think it's helping, because we're seeing much more progress in the last 5 years than I have seen in my 25 years.
Since we have 1 minute in our disposal, my last question will be this. What advice would you give to the other entrepreneurs or business leaders on how to effectively manage change and challenges in rapidly evolving Greek environment?
I think one of the things I learned here is that it's really important as a leader to not feel that you need to have the answer and to control everything. As the environment is changing, what you need to do is empower all your teams to be able to make decisions, because they're closer to the information, and things will come much faster for us, instead of waiting for a very hierarchical, formal situation. So that's probably the first one. The second one is invest in people. Honestly, it's my biggest learning here in Greece is that if you let people be themselves, give them the power, they can do so much more, and they have much more ideas. They're just much closer to the business than we as the leaders can be. So if you do that, you can build a culture that is unleashed, and it can do amazing things.
Thank you so much, Lili. We were on time. You were insightful, inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you.